people are still going to join us. My name is Mita Kokong. I'm a financial literacy educator. I also run a company called New Ground Financial. Where we are passionate that we have on estate planning. We really do apologize for that. I'll just give my colleague Tari to introduce herself, and then we will begin. Over to you, Tari.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Challenge Tarsai Manyonga, but preferably called Tari Wemari. And this week we are just supporting Money Smart Week. Money Smart Week is just an initiative where we spread financial literacy awareness to all consumers and all other people. And so myself and Mita, we just collaborated just to support in this initiative of Money Smart Week. So yeah, you can get started, Mita.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you once more. As my colleague Tariq has mentioned, it's by the FSCA and the National Treasury and the NCFEC to make sure that our community is well educated. So as planned today, we'll be talking about estate planning. Basically, just to explain what it is and how best can you prepare yourself, since the theme for this year is protect your money and secure your future. And one of the ways that you can secure your future is by planning ahead, and that will actually help you to secure your future and protect your money. I think basically financial knowledge or any form of finance is more about the future. What can I do now to ensure that I am secured, I retire secured or financially free? So just to explain, estate planning is a process of anticipating and arranging or managing your finances in advance. Again, what can I do now in order to make sure that I am well looked after in the future? We cannot all we cannot be working forever. You cannot do your 9 to 5 forever, or you cannot be a CEO of your company forever. How do you cover yourself? How do you make sure what you have worked for actually lives on as a legacy in your family and also with your children? So so we will touch basically on wills. What is a will? And where can you be able to get a will drafted? So how do I say it's not the only thing, is essentially which will also help you to ensure that in case of your passing, your loved ones are looked after and your assets are shared accordingly. So the reason a will is important, it ensures that whatever you have monetary wise or asset wise is shared according to your wishes. Anyone who does not have a will actually is attracting frustration for their family. You can imagine if your family has to look to mourn a loved one that has passed on, to frustrate about who gets what and when at what age, especially if you've got a minor. I always say a will is not about having millions. The moment you have children, you need to have a will. Even if you just work a 9 to 5 and you to
Mita, we are losing you. Oh, I think Mita is struggling with network there. Let's just give a minute to see if she's going to come back. Okay, I think she's struggling with network, so I'll just jump in there. So she was explaining about wills. With me, I always say like, since all of us, we don't know, like, we don't know the time where we're gonna die and everything. Like, no one of us is a contract with God. Like, we don't really know, like, okay, is it going to be in the next 10 years, or is it going to be this year or next year? We don't know that. So I always say like, that's the reason why we all need to have wills, because we don't know for certain when is it going to be. So we need to plan for that life where we are no longer there whilst we still can. I always say, especially if you are a mother, if you have children, or if you have loved ones, it's very important to have a will and just to specify and state what exactly is it that you want to be done when you're no longer there. Because the moment when you don't specify what is it that you want to be done when you're no longer there, you will no longer have a voice of who is going to be taking care of your children, especially if you have children. So it's very important, like, okay, whilst you still can do it, you have a communication either with your lawyer or or your bank, or or, or, or even those houses which even those fund houses which work with you, you have a conversation with them so that at least they can protect your energy. I always say like a will, you're protecting your energy, because remember, we are all working so hard, and the main reason why we are working so hard is because of our children. We are not working so hard for other people to benefit from what we are.
I think it's her network. Because yeah, I think it's the network, Renee.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, Mita, we can hear you.
Okay. I'll try and continue. Sorry about that. I think Tari also got out. I got kicked out by the network. Um, where was I? Okay. I was still talking about the importance of a will, and how it helps manage your your assets on behalf of your family. So yes, there are fees that can be charged if you do get a will drafted. Banks may charge you a monthly fee. Attorneys or any legal representative that you choose may also charge you a fee. But a will is one of the best ways to ensure that your estate is planned out. You can also contact your financial advisor either through any financial institution. I know as well that next month, which is September, is a free wills month. So any company that assists to draft a will, they can actually do a will for you for free. Like as I said, any financial institutions like the bank. Um, I know also a lot of people would say that um, they've got a will written at home. A will that is handwritten with pen and paper is acceptable. However, it's not safe, because you would be the only one with the copy, and no other legal representative would have a copy. So that is not a good idea. You actually should have a will written by a legal representative, whether and basically they keep a copy and then you keep a copy. What's also essential is that you must have someone that you trust, that you can inform that you have a will. You don't have to tell them the contents of what is in the will, but you can inform them that there is a will in place at a certain institution, so that in case you pass away, then they can know where to go. So if it's with the bank, obviously if someone passes away, the bank will freeze your bank accounts and everything. Then they will then inform the family that there is a will in place. However, for other kinds of institutions, someone needs to know, so that a will can be their family can be informed of a will that has been put in place as well. So the kind of things that you include in a will can be any policies like a life cover that you already have, a retirement fund that you already have. The value thereof will be mentioned as and when. And a will is not, you basically don't do a will once off and then forget about it. A will can change as life's events change. Say when you did a will, you did not have any children. Once you have children, you include your children in the will and how they're supposed to share your assets. If you buy a house, things like that need to be added onto your will. Tari, I don't know if you've got anything else to add. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry for that. Sorry for that. Technology. Oh, I switched on my phone because I don't know, my laptop couldn't get connected on Wi-Fi. So thank you so much for that, Mita. And I really wanna say yes. Basically, that's a will is about. And the moment when I get kicked out with my network, I was also mentioning like the importance why we need to have a will. It's because we don't know the day and the time when we will die. Like there's no one with a contract with God, right? So basically we won't know the day and time. So that's why it's very important to always prepare for that life where we are no longer there, so that at least we can protect our energy, and we can also protect the hard time. We can also protect our energy on the we are working so hard for this money, right? So it doesn't make much sense that you are working so hard, and then when you die, maybe that auntie you don't like, that evil auntie you always talk about and you resent about, she'll be the one who's going to take care of your kids, because you were not just planned enough. You didn't really do proper planning for you to take care of your for you, and put it down whom do you want to take care of your family, and how do you want your assets or your money to be distributed. So that's the importance of why we should be having a will. And these are the conversations. I know it's not comfortable conversations to be having, especially in us African setup families. We don't really want to
about it, because we feel like when we start talking about this life when I'm longer there, maybe I'm planning for my death, or maybe I'm just actually doing like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But it's not really a self-fulfilling prophecy, but you're actually planning ahead, and you're actually planning for the things you want to do, for the things you want to be done when you're no longer there. Because when you're no longer there, no one's going to be talking and saying that, okay, Tari, I wanted my kids to be taken care of. I wanted my kids to be taken care of maybe by my sister or by my mother, or I wanted maybe my money, part of my money, to be taken to a charity organization. Because those are some of the things I used to do when I was alive. So those are important things, like what you have to do. So basically, on a will, you state everything you desire, everything you desire, and everything you want. Is like a will. Basically, it's your voice when you're no longer there. You're having that voice when you're no longer there. Because when you're no longer there, you're no longer there. And is what Peter was saying, that everything will be distributed by the state. So and you wouldn't want that to be like you are not putting on a gazette and people are saying, okay, this person is no longer there. If there were any kids or if there are any independent people who have been supported by this person, please come and take care of this. So these are some of the conversations we need to be secure in our future. Like, this is basically like we are just securing our future, and we are also protecting our money, which is the theme of Money Smart Week. Like for this year, like we are protecting our money and securing our future. So these are some of the things we really need to talk about and get deeper into, and just have that understanding. So ladies, I just want to advise you, if you don't have a will, it's something you need to start having a conversation about and see how you can have a will. So I always say, like, okay, a will, like sometimes you can also see, like in your shop, like your CNA, PNA, sometimes they do sell like your templates for a will. But I always, sometimes it's good to maybe to go through the legal route, or maybe someone who is professional in that area, so that they can just draft your will in accordance with this, a similar way it's supposed to be done, and they can tell you on some of the things you have to be stating in your will. But sometimes when you do it on our own, you might miss things. So it's important that you seek a professional who can help you to draft your will, and always have somewhere, a safekeeping place where you can keep your will. I know, like with your banks, they can keep your will. I think they charge a certain fee. I'm not really sure how much is it. There's also capital legacy for drafting your will and safekeeping of your will. They do it for free. And we are going into September. September is a free will month. So most lawyers or your capital legacy or your banks, or most of the attorneys, they'll be drafting your wills for free. So please, let's take advantage of September. Let's take advantage of September, and let's take advantage of September, and let's just go and draft our wills if you don't have a will. And also, as Mita also mentioned, like, a will is not just a once-off thing, then you forget about it. Like, if there are any changes in your family, maybe you have you added another family member, or maybe there are other things you have changed, it's good just to go back and update your will, so that if anything happens, your will will be updated. I just want to share this story which I had about this man. Like, this man, when he started working, like he got lucky that he started working at his early 20s. Then he got a nice job and everything. Then he did a will that time when he was in his 20s. Then he put everything under his mother's name, because he was not married, he didn't have any kids or anything. Then 15 years later, he passed away. But when he got married, when he had kids, he forgot to actually went and update his will and everything. So the moment when he passed away, 15 years later, everything was under his mother's name. And because the mother didn't like didn't like the Makoti who was married into the family, she refused to give the children. She refused even to give this wife anything, because she was like, no, your husband brought this house under my name. I'm the owner of this house. And they were like, his family was literally chased away from the house. So those are some of the things we through when you're no longer there. You might be thinking, okay, maybe my mother's got the best interest in my heart, but we don't know. When you die, people change. We don't know that. So it's very important that after every 5 years, just revisit your will and see, is it still the thing which you still want? Like that benefit, like that person you said that you want them to be taking care of your children. Are you still in good terms with that person, or maybe things have changed? Because life changes, people change, and if you notice that there are any changes and you no longer maybe vibing with that person you have put as a custodian for your kids, it's good you change them whilst you still can, not to wait for it when you are no longer there and no one will be able to fight for you. So I just wanted to share this story. So I don't know if Mita, maybe you have anything to add on that.
Actually, yes, two things, Tari. One is that we need to make sure that when you get a will drafted, you need to make sure that you are in the right mental state. That is very important. So a will that is drafted by someone who might be ill or in a hospital can be seen as invalid. So because the person is not in a right mental state. Two, one of the ways that you can manage your children's assets, especially if they are a minor, is by creating a trust. So a trust is important because that is where your minors' assets can be looked after up until they are in a legal age. And I think in South Africa, legal age is 18 years and above. So legal age means that they are within their right to sign their own papers. They can be their own legal guardian. They can look after themselves. So trusts are not just for having them because they come with a bit of a cost. So if you don't have minors, it's not a good idea to go through the trust route. But if you've got minors, you might, minors meaning younger children, then a trust is the best way to go. As Tari mentioned, when you appoint a legal guardian, it could be someone that you are still very much in good terms with. But if you fall out of good terms with them, then it means you need to appoint someone else. And to ensure that your children's assets are not squandered by family, I think that's where the trust comes in, because then you are able to appoint whichever bank that you've opened the trust with to make sure that they look after the assets of the minor up until a certain age. You are able to stipulate in your will as well to say, I want them to get this money at this age or at this level in their life. Whoever you appoint as a guardian as well, you can also be able to make allocation as to how much can they get in order to look after the minor up until that age where their child can look after themselves. So a trust is one of the ways that one can actually ensure that their minor is looked after. Another one I just remembered is that your will affect your marriage contract, so that also should be taken into consideration. So if you are married, you need to obviously speak to your spouse, discuss your marriage contract and the conditions of your will. They must not be contradictory to what your marriage contract, they must go hand in hand. So those are some of the things that can affect how you draft your will. But Tari has mentioned one of the good service providers that we know, which is Capital Legacy, that you can approach and they can assist you with actually getting a will drafted. Your debt, skoloto. Your debt is very important for you to pay it while you're still alive, because it can affect your loved ones even as you pass away. So please make sure as well that your debt, it's not always easy, but it's better to pay off your debt, unlike you having your debt form part of your children's legacy. Pay off your debt, make means to make sure that your burden of debt does not become your loved one's burden of debt as well. I think that should be part of your securing their future as well, is that they shouldn't have to sign your acknowledgement agreement, whatever, so that they can take over your debt, especially if there isn't any money in the estate to pay off the debt first before they could get what belongs to them. Yeah, so I think that's very much it.
Yes, I just want to add on that debt issue you touched on later. Because I always feel like most of the times we go on and take our bonds, we take our car finances and all that, and we also don't really look into it. Like, okay, if anything happens to me today and I still have this house, which still is about like more than 10 years for it to be paid off, what is it going to happen? Is it a step like, okay, if I pass away today, then this house will be reported by the bank, and now my children who have nowhere to stay. In as much we want to try to pay off like some of our debts and everything, but the reality sometimes it won't really allow us. So I just want to add on the importance of also having like policies, it's very important for us to take like life policies, especially if you have properties. Just take a life policy for whatever property you have, so that if anything happens for you today, at least you know that, okay, my property, the life policy is still going to cover for it, and the bank will still not repossess. The bank will not repossess my property, and my kids will still have somewhere to be staying in. So it's important to look at your to have a work plan, like just write through everything, write all your debts, and if it's like houses you have, like if it's mortgages, bonds, car finance, like even the smaller debts, write down everything and say, okay, if in terms of you going to take a policy, what policy do you want and how much policy do you want to take, which covers for your bond. I know most of the times the bank does really advise us to take like a bond policy when they're buying our properties, but most times we skip those. We skip that part because maybe we want to cut down on the installments we are paying and all that. And also the thing with also a bond policy as well is that after you finish paying off your bond, that policy will go off. So I always say it's better to take a life policy, because with a life policy, you just take a life policy, then you go and send it to the bank and say, okay, if anything happens, I want this money when it's paid off to pay off my house. So basically, so those are some of the conversations we really need to start having and making sure that things are in order, things are in plan, so that at least it won't be an easy thing. Like when you pass away, like your kids were used to live this kind of lifestyle. Then when they are no longer there, now maybe they have to go big amakaya, they have to live a lifestyle which they are not used to, just because we were afraid to have these conversations, and we're also afraid just to look down and say, okay, you know what, I'm owing ABCD. This is like really like maybe I'm over indebted or what. It's important that we have this type of conversation whilst we still can and have a proper plan of how you want to deal with it if anything happens to you. I always say, like, especially mothers, and going back to because I'm also a mother, if you have kids, ladies, it's very important that you start having these type of conversations just to secure your future. And we also need to protect our money, because our money is energy. Like, we put so much energy in working and making sure that our loved ones have the have a lifestyle we desire. So it's very important that we also think about, okay, if I'm no longer here, like if anything happens to me today, what is it that's going to happen to my kids? What kind of life will my kids have? You see, that's the topic I just wanted to add later.
Okay. So also I was just reminded of this conversation that I normally have with some of my clients. There is this law called the common law wife. I wish there was guys in this session. So the common law wife basically says if a male person decides to live with a woman, maybe not, basically not even live, if they have a side chick and they look after this side chick for 6 months or more financially, and this side chick can prove that this man has been looking after me for 6 months or more financially, then this woman, even if she's a side chick, the law allows her to have a claim on the man's pension fund even if he passes away. So it sounds unfair, but it is the truth. That is what happens. So that is one of the ways that a person can lose what they think is security for their family, what they think will continue to provide for their family even if they pass away. So if they have a side chick, and this side chick can prove, whether to the employer or to whoever the spouse is laying claim to, then if the side chick can prove that they've been looked after for 6 months or more financially, then they can also claim a percentage of the husband's pension fund. So that is why it's very important to know these things and to understand what can be dangerous towards your household finances, not just as an individual. How our actions can also take away not just from me as an individual or my spouse, but also from my children. It means your spouse is going to have to share your life's work with someone else that your wife does not even know. So we actually are putting our finances in a dangerous space by actually opening up ourselves with that. Unfortunately, the law does allow it. If they can prove it, it means they need to get a share. So it sort of puts a person's finances out of the space of being secure. I think that's what I basically wanted to state, that those kind of things can put our finances in jeopardy because of something that comes from outside. It sounds very minor and unreal, but it does happen. I've very much experienced it a lot. So let's be careful and also inform our spouses of these kinds of things, because some people don't come into our life with the purpose of building, but they come with the purpose of taking and stealing. And it's not just stealing from us, but it's from our children and the financial future of our children that we're trying to build every day. So let's be aware of that and let's be careful. I don't know if maybe there's any more questions. There aren't any questions actually. Any questions, ladies? Okay. Tari, I have shared the thank you, Tabeka. So I've shared a link on the chat. This is the link for the you'll be able to use it. So the link is for accessing our webinar. You can just let us know what you thought about the content. Do you have the link as well, Tari?
Yes, yeah.
Tari, can you please mute? Okay, yes, so the link, I'm going to try and send it again because it's taking long to send. Okay, so on the link, we're just basically asking for your feedback regarding the webinar, the content, the information that you received. Any form of information is very much welcome, so that we can just assess where we can do better next time we do these kinds of sessions. So yeah, please click on the link, or let me know if you can click on the link, or if you can't, maybe now before we finish. I shared it again. Oh yeah, you can copy and paste it on Google as well. Thanks, Tari. So you can copy and paste it on Google, and then when you're done, you can send it through. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate your time and your patience with us. And we really hope that you have learned. Tari, is there anything else that you want to add?
No, there's nothing really from my side. Thank you so much, ladies. I really do appreciate for you spending your time to come and join us. Really do appreciate. Thank you for joining.
Yes, thank you so much, guys, for the participation. We appreciate it. Hope to see you in more of our sessions. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tabega. Thank you, Lucille. Thank you, Renee and Sheila. We really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. We'll wait for the feedback.